Okay, so we're Genius School. So I'm Karen. I'm Angie. And I'm here with Karen Bonanno, who is my trustee colleague in Genius School. And we're here to talk about the youth crisis and how to help the next generation reach their full potential. And I think we are all acutely aware that we are amidst a youth crisis. So what we'll be covering today is the importance for young people to understand their natural talents and their capabilities, particularly in these challenging times. We'll cover the change the young people experience when they play to their strengths. So the positive effect that has on their ability to achieve success. We'll talk about strategies for how to tackle self-doubt and how to build confidence and resilience, where we look at show up, step up and give back. By that we mean discover who they really are. That means who we show up as, how to step up, discovering our natural talents, but then owning them and actually stepping into that genius in a way that then we can give back through collaboration and contribution. So and linked to that is the Genius School solution. We'll be discussing that also. So when we look at the youth crisis and the challenging times we're experiencing right now, the challenge is that many young people are suffering from anxiety. And how do we know this? How can we recognize anxiety in our young people? What does that look like? So you might find that they are less communicative, quick to anger, more angry than they might normally be, or less tolerance, less ability to tolerate impatience, maybe, difficulty in sleeping, avoiding others. So spending more time on their own in their bedrooms, or not fulfilling the tasks or being motivated to do the jobs that they have responsibility for, being negative in their responses and their attitudes. Defiance is part of that negativity. Sudden outbursts, seeming overly emotional or more emotional than they might normally be, and the lack of focus on their school, their study, or their lack of ability to focus as well. So a short attention span. And, for some students, you will see over planning, procrastination, and over planning in order to gain a feeling of, or an element of control in their lives. So they're just some of the pointers that might indicate that the young people in your lives are suffering from anxiety. And Karen, I'd like to come over to you for the next slide. I'll drive if you like.
Yeah, thanks, Angie. So thank you for being with us. And I did put a little note into the chat, if you can tell us where you're from and a little bit about what you do, because that will help us as we go through this particular masterclass to be able to tailor what we're speaking about. But when we talk about the situation where we've got our young people being totally bombarded by everything that's happening around them, we've got this overwhelm of natural disasters and worldwide global issues, wars, rumours of wars, and it's just ongoing and ongoing. And of course, they are probably the most connected generation, and subsequently, they get to hear about all of this through their various communication channels that they have. This particular slide here shows the results of a survey that was done last year in comparison to the last couple of years that it's been completed. Now, it is an Australian survey because that's where I'm located, but as I read and look at what's happening globally, I'm seeing very similar things emerging along the way. So for this particular survey, they found that young people were very concerned about the environment. Like you've got 51% there identified that. And it's all around the issues of the extremes that we're having and the impact that has. There are young people that we know who have been impacted by earthquakes. They've been impacted by bushfires. They've been impacted by floods. And the recovery time of that isn't going to be an immediate. It may not be on the TV or the media or whatever channels, but it takes a long time for that recovery to happen. So our young people are being impacted by this, and that has become a whole issue for them. And it does have that feeling of being trapped in their fight, flight, or freeze mode. Then we've got the other couple of aspects there about equity and discrimination. And we're seeing that that is emerging as well. It could be due to gender, it could be due to their race, it could be due to their cultural background. It may even be as they've got their mental health, that a student is withdrawn or they're not engaging in activities, as Angie was outlining in that other slide with the what shows up as anxiety. And so they're discriminated against. They might be bullied, or they might be even isolated, and their best friend may not want to have anything to do with them. So there's all sorts of impact that is happening on our young people. And then, of course, there's the ongoing mental health issues that are there. And you can see that by the comparison with the previous years, that's kind of sat around a certain set figure. But then if we go to the next slide, this is what is happening when it comes to the impact then on other aspects of their lives. And in particular, for the work that we're doing with Ingenia School, we are concerned about how we can support young people to be able to achieve their scholastic and academic goals that they've set themselves, and also to help them to manage their time, to manage how they learn, getting them focused on how they can learn at their best, providing them with different strategies and techniques that will assist them. Because here you can see they've got 41.5% of that age group saying that they are experiencing challenges at school. And Angie and I know, and those of you who are in an education background, I see some people there teach these particular kids, but they're also a mum, and others are coaches of kids, that we know that when they are in this fight or flight or freeze mode, they're not open to learning. And so we need to think about what we do, and we'll talk with you and share some of the things that we do and the transformation that we see by adopting these particular strategies that we share with you in this masterclass. But now is the time for us to be consciously aware of what's happening with our young people and being there ready to assist them. Because if you look at that on the side that says close to 3 in 10 said that nothing could help me, and they're unsure what could help them. So it's a case of they don't know what they don't know because they don't know. And also too, they just feel alone and not supported. So these are things that we've got to keep in mind as we go forward and look at how we can support them. So I'll just hand back to you, Angie, for our next couple of slides.
Okay, thank you, Karen. So when we look at well-being, and this, if you look at this little guy here on the platform, he's in a pretty good space at the top of the tick, feeling motivated and feeling like things are going okay. For most of us, for most of the time, our young people are in this space, hopefully. But then things happen, like a crisis. In New Zealand, we've just had massive storms go through, hurricanes, and terrible things happen that have resulted in loss of homes and loss of lives in the local communities. It takes something like that for any of us at any point to spiral down and suddenly feel unsafe, or suddenly feel like things are not going well and we have no ability to cope. The key is, how can we very quickly have young people start to feel a sense of empowerment, a sense of potency and control in their lives, so that they have, no matter what's happening now, they can create a compelling future for themselves. So they're looking upwards. They've got a reason to pull themselves out of that terrible situation, which may not be under their control. They might not be able to control the situation, but they can control how they feel about it. We can give them a sense of potency, that they are valued, they can do something about this, and they can support each other or support others. So our whole philosophy is around, how can we raise self-awareness? How can we build that sense of empowerment and potency in young people, so that they can then create a compelling future to pull them forwards and give them a reason for, you know, getting through the day, getting through the week, getting through the year, but also do amazing things in their lives. It's how long we stay in this bad feeling space that really does impact how we feel about ourselves and the world around us. So by creating a strong sense of identity, helping them see that they make a valuable contribution to society, that they are a genius, that they can do these amazing things, giving them a purpose, a reason for being, helping them to tap into their passions and their purpose so that they feel that they have a sense of belonging, they're valued, and they have a reason for being. And that is critical to the mental health and well-being of young people. All too often, we focus on what they're not good at and what they can't do. The Genius School philosophy does totally the opposite, and we focus on their strengths and nurture them. So if we think about the different crisis points, you know, I've just mentioned a hurricane, Karen's talked about a few that have been happening globally, and certainly with the pandemic. I mean, what are some crisis points that you can think of that you maybe have witnessed your students experiencing? It'd be really useful to understand what it means for you and what you see as a crisis point with regards to education. So please do type in chat any thoughts you have around this and how our young people are affected by that. You know, identity crisis is definitely one of the things, you know, that's often all over social media, and the pressure that our young people feel from the images and the impressions that they're constantly seeing in social media and the media alike. Yeah, Olivia says the lack of meaning in life. You know, you went through a similar crisis 20 odd years ago. Absolutely. And it's, you know, it's really, really challenging, because often we say to young people, what do you want to do, or who do you want to be when you grow up? What do you want to do in the future? Shala, yeah, absolutely. The earthquakes in Turkey, very sobering. Yeah, so often we ask people what they want to do when they grow up or who they want to be in the future, but we don't often ask them who they are, what do they care about, how do they want to make a difference in the world. So, you know, I think we do need to be shifting the conversation we have with young people. Stress of having to decide a path at 17 or 18, absolutely. How crazy is that? You know, many of us will have more than one career. I've had 4 in my lifetime. Yes, I've lived a long time, granted, but you know, long gone are the days where you choose what you want to be for the rest of your life. And even if you did need to choose, 17 is still really, really young, you know, and for some that might be 15 or 16. So it's a case of finding out what our students care about and giving them some direction around their purpose. So on that subject, what do we do? In Genius School, we offer child-centered personalized learning. And what by child-centered, we mean that we put the person at the center of the whole learning experience. And we start with asking who they are, finding out their unique strengths and their abilities. Yes, we use tools to do that, like our Genius test or our Talent Dynamics for Young People test, Teen Genius quiz, etc., etc. But we start with helping them understand that they are unique, they are perfectly imperfect individuals, and they have special gifts to offer the world. We grow their self-awareness, so when they understand their genius, they understand what they're naturally good at, and we say to them, take take what you're naturally good at and do more of that. So I'm so sorry. And we also teach them that your strength might be someone else's weakness. So in understanding that, they learn the value of collaboration. And in doing so, it's very, very empowering. And when we tap that into their passions and their purpose and their ability to create that compelling future, then it's I'm really got a cough, sorry. Then we're empowering our future leaders. Sorry, just excuse me a second. Empowering our future leaders, where we say we're either learning or we're earning. So we're empowering our young people to either go and create a business or create their own jobs. So they know they're not going cap in hand, dependent on other people to solve their problems for them. So we always like to explain what we mean by the word genius. And so the ancient Romans believed that your genius, your genie, was the unique spirit or the unique personality that resides within your body for the whole of your life. And it's derived from two Latin terms, genius meaning as above, and ingenium, a related noun which refers to our innate dispositions and inborn nature. So when we say our innate dispositions and inborn nature, we're talking about our natural genius, our natural way of being. And the word genius, therefore, blends the concepts of both the divine, the unique spirit, and the talented, the natural genius. And when we can express that, we can achieve anything. So if you are not familiar with our genius quiz, there are 4 different types of genius. We have the dynamo genius, which is ideas smart. We have the opposite, which is the tempo genius. They're more senses smart, tuning into their sensory perception. And then we have our blaze genius, which is people smart. They're very extroverted people who are outgoing, love being around people. And then the opposite to that is our steel genius, which are detail smart. So more introverted personalities and likes to be, analyzing information and more detail focused. But at the center of the 4 genius is the spirit, which is purpose smart. So if we tap into the purpose and ignite the individual spirit, genius within each other, then within each student, I should say, then we're really tapping into their genius, so to speak. So each genius has its positives. Each genius is amazing in their strengths, but also has weaknesses as well. And like any individual, any human, we all have different ways of responding to stress or responding when things are going wrong. And each genius has a different way of expressing or showing stress and negative responses than the other. So if you're a dynamo genius, then behaviors that might not serve you so well, that might be a weakness as a dynamo genius, and this one is me, and Karen actually. Our greatest stress comes from loss of independence or any prospect to individually shine. And that is so true. I hate being told what to do. I like to be completely free to make my own decisions. If we feel disempowered in this way, then we will have difficulty in focusing. We might give up on our interests, not persist through difficulty. We can procrastinate and we can be impatient. And sad to say, that's definitely me when I'm out of flow and not in a good space. So again, when we raise the self-awareness of young people, we're saying these are your strengths, but be aware these are your weaknesses too. But if you want a dynamo to shine and be in flow and in a good position, then focus on what they're good at. Dynamo genius people are great at coming up with ideas and solving problems. They love new opportunities. They love to start new things. They're big picture thinkers and often have, very bold ideas and strategies. And they love the thrill of the chase. They love to start something new, and they'll often jump in both feet first with lots of energy, fast pace, and lots of enthusiasm. Often make impulsive decisions, and sometimes will jump in without planning because their enthusiasm can run away with them. And they don't like structure or too much organization. So they are task orientated. They will often focus on what needs to be done, more than they'll focus on timing or people. It's not that they don't care, it's just that's their natural way of being. And if we understand that, then we say, that's okay. When we need this in our business and in our life, we engage a dynamo genius. But we also maybe have complementary skills using other profiles as well. And if we look then at the Blaze genius, Blaze being extroverted people, they love being around people and they love to be in social situations. So the way to dull the flame for a Blaze person is to have them isolated. If you have a young person who you know is a Blaze genius and they're spending so much time alone, then you know that there's something not quite right and they might need support. And what this looks like is they might be withdrawn, they might be unsociable, lack motivation, and they might feel like nothing in life is fun anymore. So if you have a Blaze genius and you see this, then there's some alarm bells for you. If you have a Blaze genius in your life, then they'll naturally, when they're feeling good and in a good space, you will see that they are so fantastic with people. They love new things and exciting experiences, life and soul of the party. They're often warm, passionate, friendly, fun, you know, like the glow of a warm fire. They're just lovely to be around. Great at generating excitement and enthusiasm, and often very entertaining, colourful personalities. You find they do lots of talking and they love variety. So you can see the contrast when things are not quite right, they can be totally opposite. This is why understanding the personalising learning experiences is so important, because then you can pick up when things are not going so right as well. And tempo genius people tend to be more grounded and more sensory. They like more one-on-one or small group interactions rather than the life and soul of the party. But they like to know, they like certainty and predictability in their lives. If they don't get that, then you might see they become withdrawn, they neglect looking after themselves, they become less communicative and even moody. Whereas when they're in flow and feeling good about themselves, you know, tempo genius are really in tune with the people around them, what's going on around them. Their senses smart, they pick up on other people's energies and feelings. They're really good, they're very caring and compassionate. So, you know, they'll sense if someone's not quite feeling right and they're the first to help them. Or to notice even. They like to serve, they like to contribute and make a difference to other people. They are really good at timing. They tend to know the right time and the right place. It's intuitive for them. They do tend to put other people before themselves, and they're very reliable. They love to plan things and they learn by doing generally, and very motivated by activities and connections. So you can see if they're not feeling so good about themselves and maybe under stress, you might see more of this side of their personality than the wonderful tempo caring genius they are. And for our steel genius, you know, again, behaviors that don't serve them or them well are overthinking. They can often overthink and stress, not sleep so well at night because their mind's ticking over time. They can't switch their brain off. They become withdrawn. They can be irrational and unreasonable, and they can have emotional outbursts, you know, that kind of snap back at you, or you know, get upset at the slightest thing, and almost like unpredictable in their responses. And that's because if a steel genius feels their certainty or their comfort is, you know, the predictability and certainty is threatened, then you'll see this kind of behavior. When we look at some of the recent situations, like, you know, earthquakes, as you were saying, Charla, earthquakes, hurricanes, pandemics, imagine what that does to a young person's sense of certainty and the effect that that can have on their ability to learn. So if a steel genius is feeling good about themselves and they're in flow, then they're amazing with detail. They're fantastic. They'll spot detail that we would not even notice. You know, they're great at analyzing information. They're great at putting structure and processes into place. And for facts, figures, data, details, systems, really good at all of that, creating systems, following systems, improving systems. They are very black and white in their thinking. They have a strong sense of justice, which can often guide their decision making, which is often cautious. So they'll really think things through before they make a decision. And they are very great at clarifying and simplifying complex information or concepts, because they are so orientated by data. They'll analyze it to the final degree until it's absolutely clear. And they're certain of its accuracy as well. So Karen, can I hand over to you? I'll describe the slides for you.
All right, so if we go to the next one, that'll give you a chance to grab some water there. With the things that Angie has shared with the particular energies, it's something that we work on with the young people that we have with us in Genius School. And in particular, particularly at a foundation level, where we want to get that grounding and that understanding, and for them to know who they really are and how they show up, we do a little exercise, and the graphic that you can see there is what we call my superhero statement. And we give them a little questionnaire and quiz to do, and I'll share a link with you where you can find that shortly. And they go through that, and then as a result, they can identify some of their natural strengths that they have. And often the response they give to us is, oh, wow, you've just asked me a number of questions and you found out really who I am. And when they begin to play in the space of who they really are, we start to see a change happening with them as well, where they're quite excited about the discovery that they have. So we have this little exercise where they go away and they identify some of the keywords that pop out at them, and then they put together their little superhero statement. Now, of course, we allow them to create that statement in whatever way they want to. Some create little musical jingles, some create poetry, some create visual representation like this. And we just have all this within our space for them to do that, particularly when we do our face-to-face. And so here we've got one of them's got, you know, I'm a creator, I'm visionary, I'm great at improving things, I'm inventive, I'm inspirational, I am a genius. And it's just these 5 I am statements that we get them to do. And we give them time to go away and do that, but then come back and share, because we see that it's important for them not to know just who they are, but the other people with whom they're working within the room as well. Because if we get them into groups, we mix them up so that we've got a mix of energies in the groups. If we get them doing individual, we give them the opportunity to have some flexible multimodal learning opportunities. So if you've got young people that you're finding that are being overwhelmed and become anxious about everything that's happening around them in the world today during this sort of crisis crazy times, then these are other things that you can get them to do. But go ahead and you know, use the I am statements. A very simple exercise, but very powerful, particularly if you use it as a foundation on which to build their ongoing journey with you. But there's other things here as well. I mean, journaling is one thing that we encourage students to do as well, if that's more in their mind. But we give them other tips, as you can see there. It's really a case of don't compare yourself to others. I was with a young girl the other day, and she was comparing herself with all her friends who've gone off to university, and she feels as if she's failing because even though she got good results, she didn't have an interest to go to university. She wanted to travel first and experience the world around her. And so her family were concerned that she was comparing herself with others. So I spent time with her going through her particular genius and her profile, and just working our way for her to look at where she is within her age and the things that are happening around her, and also to what the opportunities are, and utilizing where she's at now as a way to get her to be more self-aware, to then start to observe and have a different perspective when she's working the bar at the local place where she works, or she's waiting on tables, or she's doing her barista work, which is what she's doing now. So all of those things, if we become aware, we can help to empower them as well. So if we go on to the next slide, Angie, these are some tools that we use, and I'll just put the links to these in the chat. So I've got them here ready to go. So this is the Teen Genius Quiz, and it's only a short little quiz. It's online, and all they need to do is complete the questions, and they get a little 8-page report, which identifies their particular genius energy that they're showing up as being their predominant way that they will do things naturally. And then it gives them more information in regard to how they would be communicating, how they'd be learning, how they would step into a leadership role. And we've seen some of our young people that come through the journey with us, when they are in their actual physical school environments, they step up to be leaders because they become more confident in what they're doing. So that's our little free Teen Genius Quiz, which you're quite welcome to grab that link and use it as well. And we also have a Young Entrepreneur Quiz. And our reason for that is that what we're endeavouring to do, and Angie outlined it earlier on, we're getting them to focus on that they have an opportunity now in our contemporary world to learn and earn. And it might be starting off at a very young age doing certain things. And we know that some of our kids, they've gone and they found all these things at home that they no longer use because they've outgrown them, and they start to look at how they can make some money. And so that's just starting off. And the idea of the quiz is to give them an understanding of what is their young entrepreneur presence. And it's important to develop an entrepreneurial spirit, because we're giving them the opportunity to develop their financial literacy capability. Even if they may not go into business later, they develop an understanding of what it is to manage their money and how to use it, and to develop a prosperity mindset. So it gives them this different perspective on life, and they get a more of a positive mindset around things, not always being in this negative state of being. So that's a little quiz as well, which is a free one. And then the other tool that we use, and this is where it dives deeper into their personality type, their behavioural characteristics, what they're good at, what they're not so good at, the broad brushstroke jobs that would open the doors for them to be able to use their natural talents and capabilities. And so I know before the reference was made about young people having to make decisions about careers at a certain age, we find that this particular tool, this Teen Dynamics personal development tool, is really very useful for them, because they can get it, and they get quite a lengthy report. But what it does is it allows them to go through it. And I always get the young people that I work with to get a highlighter pen and use the old school approach of print it out and get a highlighter pen and highlight words that jump out at them, that explain them as they are, how they show up, but also what they're not so good at. And then for them to understand that they can dip into other aspects that will help them, but also connect with other people who can fit like a jigsaw puzzle, where they have a weakness, someone else is strong. So it's look at how they can collaborate together to be able to achieve some amazing things. So that's the Teen Dynamics personal development profiling. And that's only for a small cost of $49. So, Angie, you've just jumped to young Shreya there. Yes. So we can do that. So this is just what happens when we work with young people. We always get them to tell us of their experience. And with Shreya, she came to one of our Genius camps. And for her, she was just feeling overwhelmed by school. So if that statistic that goes right back at the beginning, where we've got a high percentage of young people are finding that school is overwhelming, the demands of their schoolwork and everything that they have to do and the pressure on them to perform, that she was finding everything a little bit overwhelming. And then after 2 days of her identifying through her talent, her team dynamics, she was able to identify, well, what she's really good at, and we kind of built upon that. We got them working in groups. We got them knowing that they can use their talents and skills to work together to achieve things. We had them engaged in different activities. And then we also had them involved in doing a presentation of how they could step up and out from themselves. So often with young people, they get so caught up in the me, that they don't realize that they have something to give, which then becomes us. And they're able to achieve a lot by working together. So Shreya shared this with us, that she said it was a great opportunity to help you learn about your true personality and how different other people are, learning a positive mindset, helping with global issues and finding pathways to learn at my best was really helpful. So that is Shreya. She's 13. She's a little bit older now, still in school, but it's a case of we provide them with some foundation, which then they can build on, which continues to take them forward as they progress through their learning and their schooling, and then of course into life as well. But it's a great foundation for them to have. So thanks,
I love
Angie.
that story, Karen. Yeah, and we've got so many similar stories as that, but so cool. Thanks, Karen. So again, it's about stepping up, about really owning your genius, and also at the same time valuing the genius of others. As Karen said there with Shreya, you know, so focused on herself and am I good enough? Do I measure up? How I'm feeling? How things look to me? When we get them to own their genius and to start to look around and value the contribution of others, it really makes a massive difference to them. So to do that, we do help them identify their passions. Once they know what they care about, then it's easier then for them to create their why, their big, hairy, audacious goal, as we have in here. Because if you can link your goal, your purpose to your passions, then you're going to set the young people on the right track to success. When they can do that and value the contribution of other people, you really then are teaching them the value of collaboration and working together with others. And, you know, we are sociable animals. It's really important we all learn to get along with others and to collaborate well. So this is where, again, this is a great summary of what we're talking about here. Linking what you love with what the world needs. Therefore, you're doing what you're following your passions and your purpose, but you're getting paid for it, because if you're adding value, if it's of value to somebody else, i.e. what the world needs, then you can earn money from it. Becomes a vocation, which is what we're talking here. So you can create a profession, a vocational profession, or even a business out of it. And when you combine what you're good at with what you love, what the world needs, and what you can be paid for, then you've found your reason for being. And when you can live in this space, the sweet spot is called the Ikigai, then you don't feel like you're working for the rest of your life, because you are just experiencing fulfillment and you're really tapping in for your reason for being. And how many of us can boast that? And Karen, you have another great story here about Sam, don't you?
Yeah, well, this is building on the Ikigai concept. Because Sam came to us and she was really not very confident in herself. She really didn't think she had a lot to contribute or give. And the program here is what we call our Teen Quest program. And she got involved in that because she wanted to extend herself. And she had great support from her family as well. And in that program, we get them to really focus on going beyond themselves, to really look at what is out there in the world that they can make a contribution towards, or they can make a difference. So it's not necessarily geared to what you're going to be paid for, because it's more about what you can contribute and where you add value and a sense of making a change in the world. Ultimately, she could do something. And in fact, she did take what she started doing here because she's passionate about video editing. So she's really good. She's a creator. So our little genius up here is the dynamo ideas part. and our mechanic profile here on the right-hand side. So she has this creative energy, and so she's really good at doing video editing. So she decided that she was going to make a difference to start with by getting a message out there during the pandemic of how young people were feeling, but how they needed to be treated by adults in the world. And so she put this together, and she did this great video edit and a voiceover, and that was her final presentation. But then she decided that she was going to take this further and look at, well, what could I be paid for? I've got my message out there and people are listening to it and they're taking notice of this little video that I've put together, but what can I be paid for? So the next step up for her was to be involved in our Young Entrepreneur Academy program, where she decided she would put together a little business around video editing and who she could help within her local area to be able to do that, local businesses and the connections she had through her family. So here we're looking at starting right back the foundation of what am I really good at? How do I show up? And then, well, what value can I add by using my skills? And then what could I end up making some money? What could I be paid for? And for her, she enjoys doing this video editing and finds herself being consumed by hours of being involved in that, but not feeling as if she's doing work. She's actually loving what she's doing in creating her videos.
So cool. Thank you for that, Karen. So, and again, here's another free quiz. So we're talking about connecting with your passions and your purpose, and we've got a free tool that you can use in order to do that. So it's just a 5-minute quiz where you will be given your top 3 or 4 passions, I think it is. So definitely play with these tools and use them with your students as well, because they're fun to do. Everybody likes to learn about themselves. And sometimes, you know, it can be just that key to switch on an idea or to set our young people on the right path. And we also have the purpose test. So linking these together again grows self-awareness, a free quiz that you can use, and it's on our Genius U platform. And this is where, you know, again, discovering your why, aligning with others and finding your deepest meaning for being, your deepest motivation. So when we look at this, links perfectly to what we talk about. We've covered show up, and we've covered step up, and now we're looking at giving back, how we work together in order to contribute to society, and finding activities that provide a sense of fulfillment, because we'll always persist through difficulty if we're working on something that matters to us. And it's a concept for all of us, not just for school students. So if you're working on something that you think is really important, then nothing will stop you. You'll work through all the challenges and you'll find solutions to all of your problems because it matters. And it's as simple as that. So we teach our young people to think globally. What are the world's big problems? We use the Sustainable Development Goals as a tool. So what are the biggest problems in the world, and how can we take actionable steps in order to solve those problems? Now, they might act locally. It might just be within their community or even their family. It might be within their city, or it might be global. That's entirely up to the individual, but the key is linking it to the thing that matters most, to their passions and their purpose. So when we can do that, and we link our talents and our strengths with our passions and purpose, we then have collaboration and contribution. And this is the global mindset. You know, it's thinking globally, acting locally. And this is how we'll solve all the world's problems. And, you know, our young people will feel a sense of fulfillment and happiness in what they're striving to achieve. And Karen, I'd love you to share this story, if you will.
So this is again, ultimately it develops this positive mindset for a young person to know that they can do something quite simple, but they can make a contribution. So here we begin to align all of those elements of what I'm good at. So Freya is a blaze energy, so loves people. And the little heart there is she's a supporter. So she liked supporting people in all different ways. Now, Freya, initially, when she got involved in our program, she was very shy and not quite sure of how she would fit in with other people, because she was also connecting in with other students who she didn't know. But as we went through the program, when we started allowing her to connect with what she is really passionate about and what she would like to see changed in the world, she was able to go and draw back on the experience of when her family lived in Uganda, and being aware that some of the animals in that locality were on an endangered list. So for her, her family had made some connections while they were there with various foundations and charities that would support the endangered animals by way of habitat and food and everything else. And so she thought, well, look, the simple thing for me to do is to get the message out there that everybody can make a small contribution to these foundations and charities and make a significant change in ultimately the world when it comes to what happens with endangered animals. And she aligned it back to the global goal of climate action, because what she was experiencing on seeing there was that the climate was having an impact as to why these animals were becoming endangered. And the foundations were looking at how they could slow that habitat disintegration down, but also how they could provide for the animals by sustaining them with food and everything else. So for her, she put her presentation together and shared with her peers about how you can make a contribution. It can be small, but it's all part of how we can take little steps and act locally to make a difference. And for her, she was very confident by the time she got to do her presentation, because it was drawing on something that she knew about, something that she had personally experienced, but could now see it in the bigger picture of what was happening in the world. So this takes some kids from that sense of overwhelm of what's happening in the world to how you can do small little steps. And we take them through kind of a research, inquiry, discovery, learning journey to help them to gather the information they need. And for her, it was finding that information and diving deeper into something that she loved for her topic to be confident then in presenting it. So this is great to see the change that happens when we give young people the opportunity to step up and have their voice heard.
Yeah, thank you, Karen. It's absolutely magic, and we've got so many stories like that. And the thing is, you know, when young people have that experience, they carry that with them for the rest of their lives, because they really get to understand that they can make a difference. And that kind of education, you just can't put a price on, can you? So again, this in summary, it looks at the Genius School solution, which is whole child education, where we tap into their unique genius, their passions and their purpose, and we give that direction. So we grow their self-awareness, their ability to express themselves, express their talents and abilities in order to make a valuable contribution. And then that's that forever lifelong journey, isn't it, towards self-mastery and self-actualization, that we're forever learning and earning, and, you know, improving. Sorry, Karen, can I?
Yeah, so
sorry about this.
That's all right. Yeah, so the self-awareness we've spoken a lot about, but then they get the chance to master the skills and then be able to then express outwardly what they've actually been able to achieve. But it's building that foundation first and foremost of getting that self-awareness in place for them to know that they have the strengths and capabilities and skills to then be in a learning environment to master those, and then to be able to express what it is that they want to focus on in their learning. And that way then we're acknowledging that personalized learning. We're not saying to them, all of you have to do the final presentation in this format, or all of you have to do this topic. We allow them the scope to personalize what they're doing, but we're still taking them all through this self-awareness, self-expression, self-mastery process.
Thank you so much. While I've had time to recover, I've been on Zoom talking all day long and I think I'm losing my voice, so really sorry about that. So again, in summary, this is truly personalizing education experiences. So I love this quote by Albert Einstein, and we use it all the time, and that is, everybody is a genius, but if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will live its whole life believing it's stupid. And we do that all too often with our young people. So we're shifting that. We have all these free tools. Karen discussed them with you before, the Genius test for adults and teens. So if you haven't done yours, I encourage you to go ahead and do it. Same with the passion and purpose tests. And we have really low cost talent dynamics and team dynamics profiling tools that you can use as well. So please do make use of those tools. And Karen, I can see your head bobbing here, so I might as well let you talk about this.
Yes, so this is, I guess, a mission that we have for what we're doing with our young people. And I'm even more mindful of this now, or well, for me, this has become even more pertinent in the era now of AI learning and Chat GPT. It is going to be so easy now for young people to use artificial intelligence to key in the research assignment they've been set for school, and then have an artificial intelligence system give them the beginnings or the start or even the answer to what they're doing. If we're placing our young learners in real world learning experiences, they actually have to start to think, because they have to then look at, well, what is it and why is it, who's it impacting, and so forth. And at the same time, they're developing critical skills of problem finding and problem solving and critical thinking and creative thinking. So they're developing these skills at a higher level, and in fact, they're going above and beyond what artificial intelligence can do, because artificial intelligence can really only give you a mashing together of what currently exists in a knowledge space and what's already been harvested. Whereas we can give kids real world learning experience opportunity where they can go above and beyond that and really start to solve some of the problems and issues and concerns and situations and environments and whatever else in the world. And then they're personalizing it. So they're tapping into what they're interested in. We're also engaging them in challenge-based programs. So we're challenging them to think outside of and beyond what may be already known. And they can use that as a foundation and background for where they may take it to. And so it's very purpose-driven. Ultimately, there's impacts that we want them to see happening as a result of what they've engaged in and what they've shared. And so they become leading learners, not passive and not just sitting back and just taking it in like a big sponge. They're actually leading learners, and they're more active learners. And then they're developing these whole lifelong learning skills that they carry through with life. So this is kind of what drives us in everything we do, particularly with young people, but also when we're working with adults as well. Some of our programs that we're going to share, where we're looking at with adults, it's doing the same thing, looking at real world learning, looking at how that impacts on the way that we then show up in our own space as coaches, educators, teachers, whatever it might be, and what we do in that space.
That's so right, Karen. Thank you. And then when we're looking at educating for the future, what does that mean for us? What does that mean for us as educators, as significant people in the lives of young people? So for us at Genius School, we are offering a Genius Educator Certification Program, and that is that links to all our free tools and our free training and free resources that we have on Genius U. So basically, our certification program is a week-long retreat in Bali. It's in May, and the date is the 7th of May, I think it is, Karen, isn't it? Am I correct? 7th of May through to the 13th.
Yeah.
It's at the amazing Vision Villa Resort in Bali, and we have most of the resort to ourselves. It's totally, you know, full immersion with a fantastic group of educators, where we teach you how to use our free tools, our paid tools, our quizzes and our assessments in igniting the genius in young people. We included in this whole package is the Flow Consultant micro degree. Flow Consultancy, when you're a Flow Consultant, you get the Team Dynamics and Talent Dynamics profile token tools. The tokens you'll receive are themselves and that program are valued at 1,500. You receive the Youth Consultant micro degree, which is stage 1 of the Genius Educator certification. That's valued at 1,500, and also our 5-day Genius Education training, which is valued at 3,500. Now that Genius Educator training includes all your accommodation, your meals. It's all inclusive. You just pay for your flights and we look after the rest. During this training, you'll develop a deep understanding of the Genius energies and the different profiles. You'll learn more about the Genius School philosophy. You'll learn how to profile and debrief teens and their families, and about the Genius School principles and learning methodology. You'll discover how to provide personalized learning experiences based on the Genius School methodology, and how to facilitate online and offline learning experiences that truly ignite the genius in young people. Through what is included here, you can generate $15,000 or more in revenue just by using your Team Dynamics profile tokens and your Talent Dynamics profile tokens, and using the new skills of being able to profile and debrief young people and their families. You can earn 3-4 times your money back straight away. We'll teach you how to do that as well. You can generate revenue from being on our EdTech platform. So you get mentor status for a whole year, where you can put your own programs and courses on our platform for people to engage in and buy. It will include your Genius Educator license, like I said, those monthly tokens, and the monthly mentor calls. So Karen and I do group mentoring sessions every month with our Genius Educators. That's all included as well. And like I say, mentor status on Genius U. Again, doing the maths there, you're looking at $17,000, $18,000, $19,000 worth of value. Excuse me. And we'll teach you too how to run our Genius micro camps. Once you've learned this and we get to experience a camp, hopefully, fingers crossed, whilst we're in Bali, because what we try and do is during this training program, we try and run a camp for the local orphanage in Bali, where you get to actually put into practice the new skills that you're learning, and where they're mentoring and supporting you. If we get the opportunity to work with the local orphanage, that is just a fantastic feel-good opportunity like you've never had before, with regards to making a massive difference in the lives of young people. It's unforgettable. And for you to see that transformation in just one day, I think is so valuable for you as a Genius Educator, to be able to see the power of what we teach you through this program. We can never guarantee we can run that camp for the orphanage, because the matrons of the orphanage don't always let the children come. So, but we will always find a way to make a contribution to the local kids while we're there. But nevertheless, you will still get the training and the complete toolkit. That we have a micro degree that gives you the systems, the processes, the curriculum content, and everything for you to be able to run your own camp in your local schools, in your local community. These camps are based around show up, step up and give back, using many of the tools we've been talking about here as well. Now, we run camps too. Now, we choose from our pool of Genius Educators when we run a camp. So if we want facilitators, we might approach you as an educator and say, hey, we've got this camp happening. We need an educator in your region. Could you come and facilitate or co-facilitate a camp for us? If we do that, we pay you $400 to co-facilitate, or $3,000 to lead a camp but you can choose to run and facilitate your own camps. So you can do the maths there and see what the potential earnings are for you in running just one camp. And so in summary, what's in the total value of everything we provide is 21,000 if you were to break it all down and buy everything separately. But we've packaged this to an all-inclusive price of just 4,500, and we've done that because we really want to grow our community of genius educators globally. So we want to encourage more people to participate, because we can make a bigger difference in the world by having more educators out there teaching the way we think that children should be taught, which is child-centered, personalized learning experiences that truly ignite their genius. So like I said, this includes mentor status, the camp, the ability to run your own camps, the profile tokens, all your accommodation in Vision Villas in Bali, and your food, and also the actual Genius Educator and Flow Consultant training. So if anybody is interested in attending this Genius Educator program, please do reach out to us. You can actually book a call through this link here. Karen, thank you for putting that in chat. And we are happy, if you think you may be interested but you're really not quite sure yet, then just book a call and have a conversation with us. We're really happy to talk to you about the opportunity. But yeah, please don't leave any questions unanswered. Reach out and we're more than happy to help. And we hope to see a couple of you there. You know, whoever feels it's right for them and the right timing, then please do come and join us. You're joining a fantastic community of educators, and it really does help you to make a massive difference in the lives of young people. So one final note is the link is in the chat. I will say a huge thank you to Karen, and a thank you to every one of you for joining us on this masterclass. And we'll let you know when we hold our next one, and hope to see you, if not in Bali, on one of our future masterclasses. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everybody.